On stage, Alan Jackson once made all of America sing along to timeless country melodies. But offstage, there were moments when he seemed to vanish into his own pain. 3 glorious decades, over 60 million records sold, 35 songs topping the charts, achievements any artist would dream of. Yet behind those dazzling lights lay a very different story. A marriage lasting more than 40 years, seemingly as solid as stone, but shaken by the shadow of betrayal and trials that came not only from love, but from his own body. What truly happened behind the closed doors of that home? What pushed them into days that seemed impossible to overcome? Let us step into this journey, where every detail may make you see Alan Jackson with entirely different eyes. On October 17th, 1958, in the small town of Newnan, Georgia, Alan Eugene Jackson was born. The youngest of 5 children to Ruth and Eugene Jackson. The family lived in a modest house built from his grandfather's old tool shed, a place filled with the smell of motor oil, the clang of metal, and the cramped familiarity of a working-class home. His father, Joseph, worked as a mechanic at the Ford Motor Company assembly plant, while his mother, Ruth, was a nutritionist and managed the school cafeteria. It was within this environment that Alan absorbed a spirit of hard work, plain-spoken honesty, and dreams that were still unformed. Music first entered Alan's life through gospel hymns that rang out in church every weekend, where the entire family prayed together. But the true turning point came when he discovered country artists like Hank Williams Jr. and John Anderson for the first time, realizing that music could tell ordinary life stories with raw honesty and longing. At 16, his parents bought him a guitar for just $50, a simple gift that would change his life forever. Only a year later, Alan gave his first public performance in the high school production of Oklahoma. A moment that foreshadowed the long journey ahead. After leaving school, Alan worked countless manual jobs to make ends meet, but music never left his side. He formed a band called Dixie Steel and played regularly at local clubs. On those nights, they had to handle everything themselves: equipment, stage setup, and the performance, often without earning a dime. Despite the hardships, Alan carried within him a quiet calling, a belief that music was the only way out of the cycle of ordinary life. In 1985, Alan made a bold decision to leave behind the fragile stability of Georgia and move to Nashville, the sacred ground of country music. But Nashville was no paradise. They lived in a small apartment with few amenities. Alan worked in the mailroom at the Nashville network to get by, while his wife Denise continued her job as a flight attendant. Those were difficult years. Each day, a struggle to keep the dream alive. It was during this struggle that an unexpected opportunity appeared. On a flight, Denise happened to meet Glen Campbell, the country legend Alan had long admired. Seizing the moment, she spoke about her husband's passion for music. Campbell listened, then handed her the business card of his manager with a simple message: "Tell Alan to call." That small card became the key that unlocked the first door, connecting Alan with important figures in the Nashville music scene. Years later, when Glen Campbell passed away, Alan recalled with emotion, "I'll always feel I owe Glen so much. He was the first person I ever connected with in Nashville when my wife Denise was still a flight attendant. She met him at the airport, and he gave her a business card from his publishing company. That connection led me down the path that brought me to where I am today." Soon after that turning point, Alan signed his first recording contract with Arista, becoming the very first artist to sign with the newly established Arista Nashville in 1989. In early 1990, he released his debut album, Here in the Real World. The record quickly made an impact, proving that the once unknown boy from Newnan had truly entered the map of country music. By the end of 1990, a sweet moment unfolded. On American television, Alan was awarded a gold record for his debut album, and Glen Campbell was there to witness it, as if completing the full circle of a destined connection in music. In the 1990s, Alan Jackson not only reached the height of his career, but also fought a difficult battle to protect the soul of country music. Albums like Who I Am 1994, and High Mileage, 1998, took his name to new heights, with songs like Chattahoochee, Living on Love, and Gone Country becoming phenomena. Behind that success were also moments of pure spontaneity. Don't Rock the Jukebox was born during a tour stop at a roadside bar in Virginia when the jukebox broke down, rattling violently. As Alan leaned against it, the melody and words of a future hit suddenly came to him. In that same decade, as pop swept into Nashville, many artists chose to adapt and please the market. Alan was different. He stayed true to the traditional style. That firmness earned him the label of conservative, and some even said he was holding back the genre's progress. But to Alan, country music was the voice of Southern people, a cultural heritage that could not be lost. This conviction led to his historic collaboration with George Strait on Murder on Music Row, 2000, a blunt criticism of how country music was being killed by commercialization. Someone killed country music, cut out its heart and soul. The song sparked fierce controversy. Some saw it as a wake-up call. Others deemed it too extreme. Then came the September 11th, 2001 attacks, which opened an emotional turning point. Alan recalled that one Sunday morning, he woke up at 4:00 a.m., humming the first lines and rushed to write them down before they vanished. By the time his wife and daughters left for Sunday school, he had finished the entire song that same day. Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning came to him. Like a gift, a simple song but powerful. At the 2001 CMA Awards, when Alan nervously performed in 5 minutes of absolute silence, the room was frozen. By the next day, his website had crashed from overwhelming traffic. The song held the charts for 5 weeks, became his 29th number, one single, and won 3 ACM awards, plus his first Grammy for Best Country Song. Alan shared, "I saw so many people cry, cheer when they heard those lines about heroes just doing what they had to do. I was grateful the song touched their hearts. That way." The lyrics were later preserved in the U.S. Congressional Record as a testament of the time. Success continued as Alan included the song in his album Drive, 2002, alongside nostalgic tracks like Drive for Daddy Gene and Remember When. But he didn't stop at sentimental ballads. In 2006, Alan surprised fans with the gospel album Precious Memories. Originally intended as a gift for his mother, it unexpectedly became a phenomenon, reaching millions of listeners. Beyond music, Alan became a style icon. In a GQ photo shoot, he revealed owning dozens of custom-made boots, including a bright red pair he once wore to water ski in the Chattahoochee music video. He also spoke about the cowboy hat that became inseparable from his image. At first, Alan wore it to cover a large scar on his forehead from a childhood accident running through a glass door. Over time, it became his signature, part of a uniform, of rhinestone-studded cowboy shirts, faded jeans, and exotic leather boots. Alan even adjusted the brim of his Stetson himself to fit his face, and believed that cowboy hats weren't for everyone. They required a true bond with Southern culture. In the years that followed, he released a steady stream of albums: What I Do, 2004, Good Time, 2008, Freight Train, 2010, 30 Mile West, 2012, The Bluegrass Album, 2013, Angels and Alcohol, 2015, and most recently, Where Have You Gone, 2021. He once said, "I came to Nashville because I wanted to make real country music. I grew up with Conway Twitty, Charlie Pride, George Jones, and Merle Haggard. That's what I loved, and that's still all I do." With a career spanning more than 3 decades, Alan Jackson has sold over 75 million records worldwide, including more than 44 million in the US, earned a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and been inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. But above all, he leaves behind the legacy of an unwavering artist who brought to life music that was simple, honest, and steeped in the breath of the American South, both ordinary and everlasting. Alan Jackson's challenging career path seemed to echo within his marriage to Denise Jackson. Their first meeting was a defining moment, laying the foundation for a love story that would last more than 4 decades. The story began in 1976 when 18-year-old Alan made a bold and unusual attempt to catch the attention of Denise, a lively 16-year-old working part-time at a local ice cream shop where Alan often stopped by. In a mischievous move, Alan tossed a coin into Denise's blouse, hoping the odd gesture would spark her interest. Though surprised, Denise wasn't immediately charmed by Alan's antics. Refusing to give up, Alan went further. After Denise got into her car, he secretly slipped into the back seat and popped up just as she was about to drive off. The shock and audacity not only made Denise laugh, but also marked the beginning of an unforgettable romance. Soon, the two grew close, bonding over simple dates filled with laughter, sharing. During those dark days, she came to realize that love was not only about romance, but also about grace, the ability to forgive the one you love most. She chose not to give up, but to confront the pain, heal, and rebuild their marriage from its broken pieces. Alan, too, could not escape the weight of guilt and regret. Betrayal brought him neither happiness nor freedom. It only made him realize the true value of family and love. During their separation, Alan faced the emptiness of loneliness and came to see that nothing was more precious than Denise's love and the family they had built together. That deep remorse pushed him to make amends, step by step, proving his sincerity to Denise, working tirelessly to regain the trust of the woman he had hurt. After a time apart, Alan and Denise chose to reunite, refusing to let their youthful love be destroyed by mistakes and crises. They realized that no matter the challenges, their love was deeper and stronger than any storm. Alan remained forever grateful that Denise chose forgiveness, allowing them to rebuild their marriage on a foundation of honesty and grace. Together, they had more than just each other. They had 3 beloved daughters, Maddie, Alexandra, and Danny. These little angels gave their lives meaning and endless inspiration. Family restored Alan's balance, reminding him of life's truest values. His daughters were not only a source of pride, but also his greatest encouragement. And his love for them inspired deeply emotional songs such as Drive for Daddy Jean and Remember When. Through those melodies, Alan told the story of his family, of love and sacrifice for the people he cherished most. After weathering the storms of marriage, Alan and Denise didn't just mend their relationship. They rediscovered the profound meaning of their love. One of the most touching moments symbolizing their renewed bond came when Denise gave Alan a special Christmas gift, a 1955 Ford Thunderbird, the very first car Alan had owned as a young man. This car was more than just a prized possession. It carried the beautiful memories of Alan's youth. He once shared that, as a 15-year-old, he had saved money to buy it, and it gave him both confidence and pride during his formative years. But after marrying Denise, Alan was forced to sell the car in order to put a down payment on their first home, a necessary but painful sacrifice. Years later, Denise secretly searched for and bought back that very car. When she presented it to Thao, Alan, at first he thought it was simply a similar model, but when Denise revealed that it was the same car he had once owned, Alan was moved to tears. The gift not only reminded them of their sweet early days, but also symbolized Denise's profound love and her deep respect for her husband. That moment was a powerful reminder. No matter the hardships they had endured, they still chose to stay together, building their love on forgiveness, care, and sincerity. Alan Jackson's life seemed to have finally entered a period of peace after so many storms. But in 2010, a sudden blow struck, placing his family in the face of its greatest trial yet. Denise Jackson, the woman who had stood by Alan through every high and low, was diagnosed with cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is one of the most common cancers in women, progressing through 4 stages and threatening health severely, if not detected early. In its earliest stage, the cancer cells remain confined to the cervix, and with pap smears or HPV DNA tests, the cure rate is nearly 100%. Standard treatments at this stage often include surgery or localized radiation. However, once the disease advances, spreading to surrounding tissues or lymph nodes, treatment becomes more complex, involving both chemotherapy and radiation. At stage 4, the final stage, Cancer cells metastasize to distant organs like the lungs or liver, leaving only a 15 to 20% 5-year survival rate. The two words cancer fell like a death sentence, making their world collapse around them. Denise, once radiant, strong, and Alan's unwavering support, now faced both physical and emotional suffering. Lengthy chemotherapy sessions left her. Exhausted, her body weakened, her hair falling out, and her once bright face pale. Their daily life was completely overturned, as the disease posed a direct threat to Denise's life. Though few details of her specific treatments are known, one can easily imagine the harsh and grueling reality she endured. At that time, cervical cancer remained one of the deadliest threats to women in the US. According to the American Cancer Society, around 12,000 women were diagnosed each year, with nearly 4,000 dying from the disease. That meant more than 30 women faced this death sentence every day. For Denise, the diagnosis was like standing on the very edge between life and death. Even with medical progress, the emotional weight and fear of losing her still crushed Alan and the family. For Alan, the news was devastating. From an artist used to standing strong before tens of thousands of fans, he became a helpless husband, watching his wife suffer. Yet instead of collapsing, Alan put aside his career and the spotlight to be at Denise's side through every painful moment. Days in the hospital, every hand he held, every word of encouragement, every worried glance became the strength that kept Denise from giving up. It was in this darkness that Alan poured his love and anguish into music. He wrote, "When I Saw You Leaving," as a heartfelt confession, a prayer for the woman he loved most. The song was more than melody. It carried Alan's deepest emotions as he watched his life partner fight for survival. Though exhausted and in pain, Denise bravely endured treatment. Surrounded by Alan and their 3 daughters, she found her reason to fight. Denise said, "When you know you're loved and needed, you find the strength to overcome anything." Love itself became her guiding light, helping her face fear and relentless suffering. The battle stretched over months, and then a miracle arrived. Treatments ended. Denise's health began to recover, and cervical cancer was finally pushed back. It was a victory not only for Denise, but for the unyielding love and faith that bound their family. Alan later reflected, "We thought we were going to lose everything, but then we realized love is the one thing that can never be defeated." Even today, cervical cancer remains a serious concern. Though HPV vaccination and early screening have reduced cases, it continues to haunt thousands of families. Looking back at Denise's journey, it's not hard to understand the pressure and fear that Alan Jackson's family endured during those years. Denise's triumph was not only a miracle, but a testament to the power of family and resilience in the face of adversity. Yet, the storms were not over. Just when it seemed the hardest trials were behind them, another battle emerged. This time, with Alan Jackson's own health. In 2018, Alan Jackson's family was struck by another heartbreaking tragedy when his eldest daughter, Maddie, lost her husband, Ben Kellickman, in a devastating accident. Ben, only 28 years old, suffered a severe head injury after falling while trying to help someone onto a boat. Despite immediate medical attention and intensive care, he did not survive. His sudden death left not only an unbearable void in Maddie's heart, but also deep sorrow for Alan and Denise, who had embraced Ben as their own son. Alan publicly thanked fans for their support during that painful time. He described Ben as a devoted man who loved his family and embodied everything they had ever hoped for Maddie. It's heartbreaking to lose someone so young, especially when Ben was not only Mattie's husband, but also such an important part of our family, Alan shared. Despite her grief, Mattie chose to turn pain into purpose. She founded a charitable organization to support women and orphans, carrying forward the spirit of compassion her family had always held dear. The foundation stands not only as a legacy to honor Ben, but also as Mattie's way of finding strength, rising from loss, and bringing positive change to her community. Alan and Denise remain deeply proud of Maddie for transforming her personal grief into a force for good. Through Alan's melancholy songs, listeners can feel the depth of a loss beyond words. But within that sorrow also lies the enduring power of love and compassion. Values the Alan Jackson family has always cherished. After facing losses that could never be undone, it seemed the Jackson family might finally leave hardship behind and move forward in peace. But fate had other plans. In 2021, Alan Jackson shocked the country music world and his fans when he revealed he had been diagnosed with Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, a rare inherited neurological disorder. Alan shared with deep emotion that the illness had long run in his family and that he inherited it from his father. Charcot-Marie-Tooth is not life-threatening, but it is cruel in another way. It slowly weakens the muscles, reduces mobility, and robs balance. For Alan, who had spent more than 3 decades tied to the stage, this illness not only stripped him of physical freedom, but also left his stage presence misunderstood at times. His unsteady steps and faltering gait often led people to suspect he was tired or intoxicated. Speaking about this, Alan admitted with a heavy heart, "If you see me stumbling on stage, it's not because I'm tired or drunk. This is the battle I fight every day." The disease is also particularly daunting because it is rare and currently has no cure. In the US, only 1 in 2,500 people are affected with around 3 million cases worldwide. Current treatments such as physical therapy, orthotic devices, or surgery can only ease symptoms and help maintain basic mobility. Yet, in this bleak landscape, medicine has begun offering rays of hope. Researchers at the UCL Queen Square Institute of Neurology announced a new treatment strategy, and gene therapy trials are underway to help improve patients' conditions. Though still in there,